Coach Lew Caralla, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
I may have mentioned this to you briefly before, but as I'm sure with millions of other people, came across one of your clips on social media and I got passed around in communities, and it was personally very inspiring to me and so many other people. First question for you today. I'm curious to hear about, when did you first realize that you had a gift of speaking to other people, inspiring them?
Uh, I don't know. When I became a head strength coach, it was always my plan to have a message of the day for the kids I work with. Like whether it was a lift or a run, I just thought every day these kids can use some kind of perspective. And for the first, I would say 5 years of being a head strength coach, no camera was ever there, and I didn't, you know, nothing mattered. It was the same me every day. And then at Georgia Tech, the cameras started being there, and they started posting some of the speeches I was giving, and then that's what caught people's attention on the viral clips. And um, I try to give every kid I've coached my whole heart, and a lot of those are my mistakes I've made. A lot of those are things that I had to learn the hard way, and it's my job to share all that with them. And it's not long; it's a minute after every lift, but a lot of those have lasted forever on Instagram for sure.
Do you almost feel like early on, starting out giving those speeches, it helped that the cameras weren't there? I think for some people that maybe make them nervous, it might change the speech. They might go into that speech thinking, who will see this on social media, rather than who are the people in front of me? Do you feel like it helped to have those first few years, honing in on your craft with just the men in front of you versus knowing that millions of people might potentially see it?
I don't think so. It changed anything. I know I was giving viral speeches from 2015. Like I didn't like some of my best speeches have never been caught, and I don't ever change my approach if there's a camera there or not. I don't have an idea if people are gonna like it, or I don't care. It's just that's who I am, and that's who I've always been. And the years of preparation of speaking, sure, but they were pretty similar back in 15 than they were in 19 than they were in 23. And it's just all the same. It's the same purpose that every year I have.
You've been at many programs throughout the years: Buffalo, Charlotte, currently Michigan, the list goes on. Have the speeches stayed similar? Like, how often do you recycle versus new ideas? And what do you generally do to come up with the ideas and hone in on the one for the day?
Yeah, so when I was at Michigan, I was an assistant for 3 years, and it just turned into a hobby of mine. Like when I had spare time, I would try to think of different quotes that would hit people differently. And they're not groundbreaking things. It's just different ways to say different concepts, like about discipline or leadership. Like I would have drop down menus on certain popular words, like resilience, accountability, toughness, and I would have a lot of quotes that go with all those words that I could file away. And it was just something I got used to doing. And I knew if I ever had a chance one day to lead a bunch of guys on my own, that's what I would do. I would have an opportunity every day after the workout to share some kind of life experience or perspective and quote or message or just anything I could think of that can help someone. And that's always been the mission. It's never been to, go viral. It's never been to think about, who's going to see it. It is about those guys in that room. And then if the social media account posts it, great. And then, for a while during COVID at Georgia Tech, I posted a ton of videos on my own because no one could see them anymore. Like the kids couldn't see them. And then that's when like Twitter started taking off and Instagram. I didn't even have Instagram during COVID, but I think that's where I realized a lot of people are looking for these messages too, which is why I actually went forward with writing the book, because the book was always on my mind. I just thought it would be a distraction to the team I was working with. So I held back for a while, and until I got to a point where I'm like, you know what, this is kind of dumb for me to hold back. I think it can help a lot of people.
Is there a point in your life that you can pinpoint of feeling like, I want to use my life to help other people and inspire them?
Yeah, I remember running around a track in Mississippi State with my boss at the time, and we were just working out, and he's like, Lou, what do you think your purpose is? And I was like, this is 2009. I'm like, I just feel like my purpose, I just want to help people. And I don't know what that looks like, but I just feel like I'm in the right profession to do that. And I feel like I have the platform with this job to do that. And I don't know. Ever since then, I've just kind of made that my purpose, and that's where it's taken me.
Let's go back in time to young Coach Lew. Take me through what you were interested in, middle school, high school, and how you grew as a person back then.
Well, I wasn't a good kid. I know that. I got into a lot of trouble. I was good at football. I was, good at sports, but I also tried to be a football player off the field a lot, which got me into a lot of trouble. I fought a lot, partied on the weekends with friends. I mean, did everything that you could think of to get in trouble. And, there's a lot of regrets I had in high school for sure. The way I acted, the way I treated people, the way I just was in general. And I was the quarterback of my football team. Like, I was the leader. So anything could have stopped if I wanted it to. Anything could have kept going if I wanted to take it further. Like, they were going to follow me. And if I stood up to friends, that we wouldn't do it. If I went along with it, we'd do it. So I have a ton of regret of not standing up enough for the wrong things like that we were doing. But man, does it help me today. And I'm so happy that I got to live through that and learn from mistakes and, I mean, pay karma back because I had a lot coming my way, and just help kids my age at that point now with all these mistakes I made, with all these lessons I've learned, with all these thoughts that I had when I was their age, the wrong thoughts, and then sometimes, when I flipped my thought pattern when I was their age and the difference it made, I let them know that too. Like, you're not trapped right now. You have opportunities. So every every part of growing up has definitely helped me help others now.
Now, as a father to a son who's growing up and time flies by, so he'll be in high school before you know it. I know he plays football as well. What are some of the things you're taking from that reflection process of thinking of how you were as a middle schooler, high schooler, now as a father and being a father to him?
I really just try to be there for him. I'm not trying to overdo it, but just help him in any sport he's struggling in and any sport he wants to do well in. Make sure he understands the value of work ethic and the amount of extra work it takes to even stand out. So, like yesterday, for example, we don't have baseball practice, but we go to the field that no one's at for an hour and a half and just work on drills and baseball. And then tomorrow he's got practice, and then the next day. So we try to stay ahead of the curve on outworking people. And I think if he instills that now, he's going to be a beast later. And it's the same thing like with my daughters. I don't try to like. There's no system I have. It's just be there for them, support them, show them that you love them, and just try to be the best person you can in front of them.
I know you're a coach of college students, similar enough age group, and I think the stat is similar for the collegiate age group. But there was a survey recently that 22% of high school students said that in the past year they seriously considered suicide, which is utterly devastating to read. Almost a quarter of high schoolers. For you, as a coach and as someone who is intimately involved with this age group, roughly, why do you think society is struggling so much for young people?
That's a loaded question. So last year when I got to Charlotte, I felt like I had to pull out the bag of tricks a lot more than ever with psychology, and like I even made a joke of it where I felt like I had a PhD in psychology by the end of the year because I had to use these meetings that I'm having with kids of perspective and think about this instead of this, or pray about this and be happy about this instead of worrying about that. It's like there's so much pressure on athletes in general, and especially from home. Like, first of all, to send people money when they get money to perform on the field so they can eventually what make money, and take care of everyone back home, and then the problems in general that are happening in their life, like surrounding them every day with family, with pressure of school, with pressure of performance, with pressure of coaches, with pressure of girlfriends, with pressure of not having a car, it's like it never ends. The list can keep going, but I think that's why like people in my role, they're so valuable, and but they don't have to be valuable. They don't have to take that side serious. They don't have to put the time in to help these kids out or even listen to them. Like that's why I interview every kid I coach, because it's so telling of where they're coming from, what they've been through, how they're even here, and what they're still going through. So if you notice bad body language on a kid one day and you know what he's already told you, you have such an advantage on pulling him into your office to listen to him even more. Because you're not going to just get more out of him by yelling at him and making him feel even worse than what he's already dealing with. You know, I've judged kids way too early before, and I promised I will never do that again because I had no idea what they were going through. And it just, people need to start listening to people more and not just telling them stuff.
Mm.
And I think that's what people need more of.
How much do you feel your role as a coach is coaching people versus athletes? Specifically, when you look at the statistics of as a coach of football, you know, how many of your athletes will go on to the NFL? You know, the number is so infinitely small, but the impact you can have on them for the 4 or 5 years that you're with them can truly change their life. So how do you approach that question of coaching people versus athletes?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to come in here and write the perfect program for these players and think that they're just gonna run through a wall for me and this is the best ever, I'm wrong. Like they don't care about your strength program. They care about, do you care about them? Like that's really it. Like I could say I'm the national strength coach of the year. I'm the guy that did this, this, and this. Listen to me now. Like no, that's not how it works. I'm here for you guys. This is what we're going to do, but please let me earn your respect before you even trust me. Like, let me give you a chance to show you how consistent I'm going to be in your life. Let me show you how I'm going to do your workouts before you do them. Like, let me build some trust with you because I guarantee I won't let you down. And when that happens, and like all these messages I give them, some days you're not going to hit all of them. But the one day you don't stop doing it, even though you kind of think maybe it's getting overkill, is the time the one kid that needed to hear it that day got it. And like consistency to people is the most powerful tool you can show them. Like being a guy that they can always count on, being a guy that they feel safe talking to, being a guy that like is just fun to be around. You can have a good relationship with, but I can also get on you. But none of this is personal. It's just to try to get you to where you want to go. And if they feel that, I feel like it's all going to work out.
What you said there, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this quote. It reminded me of the quote. I think it was something to the extent of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Something to
Yeah,
the extent of that.
that's it. I mean, that's the answer. I mean, it's just the truth. If a coach comes in to coach me, am I going to feel better if he takes an approach of I'm here for you, or this is how I do it and you're going to do it too? I think I'd go the other way. So that's what I try to be.
You mentioned that you do workouts, the workouts you assign the kids before you before you give it to them. Take me through that. When did that start?
Since I started coaching, I mean,
Okay.
that's really been my thing. Like, I just love knowing, like, if this stuff works, am I wasting their time? And is it challenging enough? Is it too easy? Is it, like, should I take some off of the workout because I just got smoked and I know they're going to? Like, is this enough rest time? Is this, I play with all of it on my own. I'm the guinea pig. So, like, when I was an assistant, even all the head strength coaches I worked for would have me go test the times out with the rest periods so they could get an accurate gauge on what to do to the guys. And I just feel like it earns respect. It shows the kids that, well, dang, I mean, Coach Lew's doing it, and that's pretty cool. So, and I have fun with them. I'll have a grease board out in the weight room the days that we max out or the days that we compete. I'm like, all right, sign the board if you beat Coach Lew on this, this, or this, and I'll put my numbers up there, and they'll all want to beat me, and it's just it's a fun time. So I do enjoy it.
In your own physical pursuits, what's that kind of experience like still trying to maintain, incredible form. The fact that you're doing these workouts, sometimes better than the guys. Like, what's that pursuit like as you start to get older, and how are you feeling? I mean,
I
that's
know.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm 38. Um, 3 kids. I barely sleep sometimes, but tell you what, there's no more peace than being out in the stadium at 4:30 in the morning, running the stadium or sprinting or coming in to do their workout. And I don't know any different. So it's not like I feel older. It's not like I feel like I'm slowing down. So I'm still hitting personal records on certain events, and I'm just still enjoying it
A basic question, but one I'm curious to hear your answer on. Why do you personally push yourself?
because I want to push others, and I believe that in order for me to do that, honestly, I need to push myself. I don't want to ever let these kids understand that I'm I'm going to yell at them and call them a soft or something like I'm trying to be too much when I didn't do it myself. Like I just can't be a hypocrite, and that's and it makes me a better coach. Like I look forward to coaching the lifts that I just felt because I know what's coming, and when the challenges come, I know when I gotta mentally get them ready. Like in the most challenging part of football is certain parts in the game. Like get your mind right, and we have to get this part done correctly so we can win. And I think it all applies. It's just it's what I love. I love feeling it, coaching it, and then I feel worthy to talk to them.
In relation to working hard, one of my favorite quotes from you, it may have been the first video I ever saw of you, was you said, lazy people do a little work and they think they should be winning, but winners work as hard as possible and still worry if they're being lazy. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that was our first workout at Georgia Tech, and the first time I met the guys, did a fun workout, and I said that quote to them because it's what I believe. It's what I truly hang my hat on. Like, there's so many people out there right now that think they can just do a little bit of work and believe they should win like everyone else. It's not true. It's like everyone sells this fake dream on Instagram or wherever. You can just get this if you do this only, or only this for that, and it's just not true. Like you have to work, you have to earn stuff, you have to like believe in yourself after you have setbacks. You have to like keep fighting for what you want, no matter who tells you it's not going to happen. And then I think you have a chance to win. But like all these people out there that, I mean, just honestly think it's supposed to be handed to them. It's very annoying to me, and I think that's why most people relate to that quote, and probably why it's gotten over 1 billion views on Instagram and all social media platforms, because everyone knows what I'm talking about. They're like the winners. They're never satisfied. They're constantly worried about their own potential. Did I do enough? You know, could I've done more? Like, is he doing more? Like, you just got to keep going, and you got to keep that drive, that inner passion of yours burning, so you can finally get there. Hopefully, one day.
Why do you think so many people think they can take shortcuts in life?
Because it's tolerated a lot of places. There's a lot of people that don't hold people accountable. There's a lot of people that get away with stuff and think that, look at that guy. He didn't do that, so why should I? And it's the biggest trap in the country. Like, you see these people succeeding and they took a shortcut possibly. But, like, this is what I always say: the people that have that success and that's blinding you, it's not going to last. Like, these people aren't built to win. If you have constant setback after setback and you never give up and then you get your way, I guarantee you understand and appreciate how you got what you wanted a lot more than the guy that it was just handed to. Like, that dude's not built to last. You are. So whatever comes your way after that, obviously you're going to appreciate what you have more, and then you're not going to be like lost if you lose it, because you're going to know how to get it back.
There's this great saying, an overnight breakthrough takes 1,000 nights in the dark. And I think a lot of people, they work hard for a day, they work hard for a week, maybe even a month, and they're confused why they're not seeing results. What would you say to those people?
That's a great quote. I believe it 100%. I mean, for you to catch a touchdown in football, like you run a post route and you catch a 450-yard touchdown, I guarantee that post route has been ran 1,000 times from January to September. of you doing that exact pattern, trying to practice it, trying to maneuver, you know, manipulate a DB and figure out the film and listen to the coaches and then get it wrong and then come back and do it right. Like there's so much that goes into everything before it actually happens.
Curious to get your take on the role environment plays in success. One of the most famous quotes of all time, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. And in my experience, the best of the best individuals I know are ones who have completely tailored their community towards who they want to be like. And the people who I've seen who have fallen off or haven't reached their fullest potential are the ones who are not mindful at all who they're letting in their inner circle.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it because it's true. And I think the closer you get to like achieving great things in life, the more friends you have to lose. And there's a lot of people that are going to be happy for you if you succeed, but it's going to get a little insecure for them because you're doing better than them. And at that point, it gets awkward because, like, I remember there was a point in my life where, I was coming home from college and I wanted to get more serious about, my training and just things that I was doing. Then I met a girl that took up a lot of my time and I wasn't hanging out with the guys anymore. And some of the guys were getting into the same stuff I used to get in, but I wasn't around anymore. And it kind of like the girl that I met is now my wife, and that kind of got me focused on a path that I'm still on today. But I don't think if I ever met her, I don't know if I would have done that. I think I would have still went back and gotten to some of the same stuff and not had much else to look forward to. And so I really blame this path on my wife, and the focus comes from her and the drive and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot that happens in your life that can shape the route that you go on, and one day it just clicks, and then you go for that. So that's what happened, and otherwise, I'm not sure where I'd be.
You've been around such successful athletes and coaches throughout your years as a coach, as a player, even, off the top of my head, people like Dak Prescott or Fletcher Cox. What do you think are the biggest commonalities you see in the most successful individuals you've been around?
They're great teammates. They really are great teammates. Like they care a lot about the people around them. They couldn't be more selfless. Like they're very good people, but they work so hard. Like they're very talented. Yes, they have the stature and the physicality, but like everyone likes them. They're great people to be around, and they work harder than you. Like that's the truth. And they do the extra work when you're sleeping. They're there on the Saturday that you want to rest on. They're there at night throwing when you want to just go to bed. Like that's the added up difference over time that makes the greats great, in my opinion. And like, look, I haven't trained, you know, uh, 7-time Super Bowl champion, but like I have a pretty good idea of successful athletes and what the difference is between the guys that make it and don't.
What would you say it takes to be great? Not just in football, but life.
Belief in yourself, belief in your why. Like, what are you doing it for? Like, if I was just to wake up and be like, all right, gotta clock in, make some money for my family, and go home. Like, nothing wrong with that. It's just like if I were to, like, I come to work and I don't even know I'm working. Like, I have no clue this is work. This is what I'm perfectly fit for. And the day after I got done playing football, I was in the weight room sprinting and lifting and, still thinking I'm going to rush for 1,000. I have nothing to play for. I have no team. I just know what my potential is. And I think that's what people just forget. Like they have so much in them that they just kind of settle on instead of going for.
Why do you think people don't believe in themselves?
The opinions of others is a big one. There's a lot of people that are going to doubt you. There's a lot of people that are going to say, I don't know about that. Maybe you should do something else. Or like, he's already done that. You don't need to do that. Like, he's more talented than you, and he didn't make it. So why would you? Um, and you start believing that. You start believing the other people's thoughts. But like, I do know this: the feeling that you have, that's like when no one's around you and you have music on, and it could be dark, when you think about the vision you have for yourself of what you could do, that's what you can do. Like if I wanted to be a worldwide national speaker, I could do that. I believe I could. If I committed to it, I know I could. If I want to be a great strength coach, I can do it because that's what I love to do. Like anything that doesn't take much effort for you to be good at, I think what if you put a lot of effort into it? like like what if you really went in on that because you love it? Like that's where you're going to start to separate. And I just think being great is, it might be an illusion, but I think it's just constantly being paranoid about your own potential.
In the age of social media, and we touched on this a little bit in terms of your speeches to your team before and after social media, I think a lot of people do the work to shine in front of people, and they'll only put in the work when they're in front of their teammates or their parents. They'll only show up on race day or game day, whatever it might look like. And there was a great quote I came across that I think puts this perfectly. They said, if you want to look good in front of thousands, you have to outwork thousands in front of nobody. What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that concept?
great quote. Love that quote. Um, I feel like the guys that you're talking about are the same guys that party after a loss. Like they are the guys that you can't trust, the guys that skip reps as soon as I turn my head, the guys that, they fail the they fail the test on their preparation exam before the game, but then they're wondering why they get beat deep. Or they cheat on their test from a teammate and then they get exposed under the lights. It's all the same. They all at some point have to deal with reality. And as soon as your fake ID gets exposed, sorry man, like the last thing on your mind from or the last thing that's coming to you is respect. Because nobody respects a cheater. Nobody respects a guy that just thinks he deserves and doesn't do the work and doesn't earn anything. And here you are on the side doing everything right and trying your hardest, and that dude might still play in front of you. Like I've seen it all. But again, the second they don't get their way, the second adversity does come their way, they're not built to last. Just like even if people are in front of you right now that don't deserve it, I would say keep investing in your discipline, your accountability, your toughness, your effort, your positivity, because at some point you're going to be fully covered when you get your chance.
How do you coach on failure? I feel like a concept that people have started to view differently, I think in a positive light. 30, 40 years ago, I think a lot of people was like failure was the end. Now I think failure a lot of times is viewed as a lesson. How can you grow from it? How do you personally coach on that topic?
Well, failure's getting different in college now because kids don't really have the opportunity to fail anymore. It's just kind of like if you don't get your way, leave. Like if you're not playing, you can leave. So there's really no resilience growth as much as there used to be. If I didn't play in college my freshman year, I'd work my absolute tail off to play my sophomore year. And if things didn't go my way, I would work my absolute tail off to play my junior year. Now it's just like, well, how I'm leaving. And then if I don't play somewhere else, I'm leaving again. And then life hits them. And then it's like, wait a second, like I can't leave life. I can't leave my wife. I can't leave, or you can, but I mean, you're asking for so many problems. You're asking for misery. If you can't fight through the toughest parts of your times growing up, and look, someone's got to guide you. I'm not saying this is easy to do. I'm not saying like fighting through tough times is fun or you don't want to. There's going to be frustrating times. Like I've been through numerous times that have been unfair, they've made no sense, but somehow like we still have to make money and we still have to feed our family, and like you got to scratch, claw, and fight, or someone else gets your spot. So I just feel like failure sets you up for success if you handle it right.
When you think about your life as a whole, where do you envision yourself in the future, like 10, 15, 20 years? Do you view yourself as a football coach, 10 years down the road, or do you want to start to venture into more of the public speaking, writing books, that sort of stuff? And also, is it hard knowing that very well could be a viable option and you're still deciding to be a football coach now because you have the results?
Yeah. I don't, I have thought about it a lot, especially the past few years. Like, should I just try to speak more? And Should I just try to write more, or should I try to get to the NFL? Or, there's so many things that go through my mind of what if, or should I, or, but the reality is, it's like I am not done with the feeling of just working with kids 18 to 22 that, love to train hard and love to work together and become a team and take the tunnel against someone else. And like, it's still in my heart, even though it hasn't necessarily been very, very healthy for my family of moving so much. But I think there's been a lot of positives as well. Met a lot of great people. My family's met a lot of great people. They've made a lot of different friends in different spots. And I don't know how to answer it because it's always been plan A that I'm in right now. And I do know there will be options at some point to think about. And I do think it's getting closer than later, but I'm just not sure yet how to answer that. Yeah.
Yeah. Going deeper into that, how important do you think it is to be in the present moment? A saying I've heard that I've tried to follow is be where your feet are and not even worry about the things I just asked you and just be like, it's March 12th. How can I be my best version of myself today and not worry about March 13th or, 2030?
Yeah. It's a very healthy way to go through life. I know that. It's a very, you don't overthink, you don't get overwhelmed, you don't get depressed, you don't, I mean, there's so much that comes from just thinking about today because everyone can get in the comparison game. Like, come on now, he's making what? Like over there, like doing the same job I am? It's crazy. But if you keep doing that, you're not going to make it. Like, you're just going to keep frustrating yourself on a hamster wheel, and it's going to be very frustrating. And that's really the only result that comes from it. But if you do focus on just today and you think about how thankful you should be and not what you don't have, I think you have a high chance of being pretty happy.
One of my favorite concepts I heard you spoke on was the concept of what would you tell your son? You were talking about this to your players. Can you elaborate on this for the audience?
Yeah. So when I was in college, my first college, I was going through a lot, and I wasn't playing. I was kept getting hurt, and those are long seasons when you're hurt. Like, you just watch other kids play, and you can do the same job, if not better, out there. So it's just hard to accept. And then you finally do get healthy, and then you don't play again because they started another kid over you that had a better camp. And it's just like, man, like it's not that I doubt myself, but this is like I'm healthy as ever, and this hurts worse than ever. So I feel like a lot of times people get in situations and they're quitting if they stay, and that was the situation I got in. And I would always like think, all right, if I'm stressed out, if I'm not believing in myself, if I'm going through this, if I don't like this, what would I tell my son when he's going through it one day? And if I told myself that, and this is before I had kids, like, I would think about this, like, what would I want to tell my son that's going through the same thing I'm going through right now? Would I stay here, or would I leave and go believe in my potential after I've already tried so hard here and it just didn't work out? I'd quit if I stay, so I left. And that's where I came up with that talk to the team, and I just believe it's true.
As someone who doesn't have kids at the moment, a frame of mind for me that I've used is what would I want my son to do? So very similar. How important do you think that frame is? Obviously, your situation was more extreme in the sense of it's where you go to school, it was athletics, it was a bigger life decision. How important do you think that mindset is for the day-to-day decisions? Of course, you can't overthink it, overcomplicate it, but even how would I want my son to treat this person or have this conversation or write this paper or whatever, or treat this workout or treat this teammate whatever way? How important do you think it is to have that mindset for even the little daily habits you come
Yeah,
across?
a lot of it happens with their friends. So, like, when they're hanging out with their friends, and their friend, like, one of the friends tries to overpower all the other ones and make them do something they don't want to, like, okay, if you notice that, maybe not say something in the moment, but like later that night, you got to try to talk to them and say, look, man, if you don't want to do something, you need to say, we don't need to do this. Like, I don't want to, I'm just going to go home. Like, and whenever they call you after that, whatever they say, it doesn't matter. Just go home. Like, because that literally can save your life. Like, just standing up to friends. It's the hardest thing to do. It's like you think about standing up to the enemy. It's pretty easy in my opinion. Like if someone is being disrespectful to you and they're trying, that's easy. But when it's your friends that you care about and they're trying to like pin you on something, just say no. Because if they're really going to try to call you all those names, man, it's time to move on from that friend. Even as painful as it might be, limit the times you hang out with them now. And then make them understand, like, yeah, I guess I was too much on him. Or, like, you don't even have to say anything, just distance yourself. And, like, little things like that all the time happen. And those are, I think, the biggest things because they end up being the biggest things. And if I can correct it now, my wife's very good at it too, but it's constant daily things, like you just said. It's a great question.
As someone who's a runner, that's my passion. That's my version of football. This quote from you resonated with me more than I think anything I've ever heard from you, which was, "Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown?" Elaborate on that. Absolutely love it. Fantastic concept.
Yeah, there's a couple things I could say. So, um, it's always been a drill I've done with the teams I've worked with. Like at the end of the runs or something, I'll have just say all the wide receivers line up on the goal line, and I'm like, all right, guys, I'm going to blow the first whistle. You're going to run 50 yards and back as fast as you can, and you don't know when the next whistle is going to blow for you to stop. So I would not have any fear. I would just know that that whistle at some point is going to blow, and just go try to beat everyone else. And you would think, like, I mean, these kids gut themselves. They gut themselves trying to win that race, and they have no clue when it's going to stop. And I think what that does is it makes you not fear as much. Like, just go, just sprint, just like the end will eventually be there. But don't think about the end. Just try to win. Try to go as fast as you can for as long as you can. And I think about my career. I started as an intern when I was still in college. Then the next summer, I did another internship when I was still in college. So I had two Division I internships before I graduated. And where did I think that was going to take me? I had no clue. I knew at one point I would dream of being a head strength coach. Did I care what it took? No. Did I care where I had to move? No. Did I care about the sacrifice? No. Did I care about the money? No. I just wanted to be a head strength coach, and I believed this was the field I wanted to be in. So was I willing to sprint when the distance? Yeah, I was, because it didn't matter what happened. I was going on a direction that, oh, you're going to do this to me? Keep going. Then you want to say what to me? Keep going. Like, everything happened because of the unknown. And I feel like that scares people away, and that keeps people going.
In a conversation I had with a sports psychologist, we are breaking down, why most people give up on themselves in the middle of a race. And she had this great saying that I completely agree with, that it's never too much amount of pain in the moment, barring you like spraining an ankle or something like that. It is thinking ahead to a mile down the road and thinking, how will I feel at that point? I can't maintain this level of pain for another mile, but you can for the next 5 steps. So it's not actually in the present moment. I think that same thing is true for life, for any endeavor, in a workout, whatever it might be. Of so many people, because they're not where their feet are, they think way too far in advance, and that's actually what stops them. For this drill, it's like, if he doesn't blow the whistle in the next 5 seconds, I'm smoked. But in reality, if they just stayed in the present moment, they'd be fine. And there's this
Yep.
great saying: the reason most people fail is because they give up what they want most for what they want now. Most people want rest when they're in the middle of that stuff. So how important do you think it is to literally just focus on the step you're in when you're in that sprinting period?
100%. There was one time we were at a bowl game when I was at Michigan, and it was in Arizona. And me and this walk-on player that I was good friends with, and I'm still good friends with to this day, we were like staring at this mountain the whole time we were at practice, and we're like, man, I don't know, man, that mountain keeps staring at me. I kind of want to go hike it. And he's like, man, I was thinking the same thing. So like, we got someone to drop us off there, like one of the nights we were free, and we couldn't see anything. Like it was so dark. and but we could see right in front of us.
Mm.
And you know what? Like, we saw signs on that mountain that were like, "Watch out for killer bees and scorpions." Like, oh my gosh! And then you start thinking about stuff. But I'm like, I don't see any killer bees in front of my feet right now, or scorpions. So we're just gonna keep going. And every step, we just stayed focused. And then eventually we're at the top, looking at the whole city. So it's 100% true. When I lunged a mile, I always think of the same thing. Like, wow, that first lap, you're like, man, I got three more. Like, and it's brutal. It hurts so bad. But if you just take the next step, stop getting so overwhelmed. It's so true about just taking that next step, and eventually you're there. Take your mind off of how much longer you have to go, and just think about what's in front of you.
We have a definitely a younger audience, I think predominantly high school, college age kids. What would you say to a listener today who's made it this far in the conversation? You know, if you're 42 minutes into a podcast, you definitely are serious about life and want to get better. What would you say to them in terms of, you know, they are eager about getting more out of their life than the average individual? What piece of advice would you give to them?
Get a calendar and get a great routine, because I feel like your routine weekly takes you through your life. And I would start writing down what you really want to accomplish. Like, don't just start thinking about it, or you think your thoughts are great, but your thoughts get washed away quick. Start writing down stuff like on Monday, for example, 6 a.m. I'm going to work out. Get your workout in before your work day starts. Eat, hydrate, all right, and then do your work. There, do whatever job you have. Do your job, and then like there's these little intentional things you can do daily, like when you're driving home, whether you have a wife, whether you have a husband, whether you have a girlfriend, whatever. How can I make their day? How can I help? These little thoughts that can literally transform your day. Just if you think about some other people. And it's just like write down these things that are so detailed that you're not going to forget if you write, and hold yourself accountable to it. I think that can take you through all the success you're trying to reach if you just get on a great routine.
In relation to the routine aspect and writing down what you want to accomplish, I think we see this through the statistics every year published about New Year's resolutions and how many people fail within like 2 weeks. Why do you think people don't hold the promises they say to themselves? Do you think it's just they don't want it bad enough or something else?
Well, they write it all down like they're going to do it, but they forget about the accountability part of it, where what happens if I don't? Like, they don't write down any sacrifice or discipline or things that are going to take place if they don't get it. Like, there's no punishment. That's why. There's no reprimanding. Like, there's nobody holding me accountable besides myself. Nobody knows but you. So time to quit. Like, who cares? And as soon as discomfort sets in, as soon as any kind of soreness or any kind of like tired or fatigueness comes in, you keep making excuses. You say it's going to be tomorrow. It never turns into tomorrow, which turns into next year. You write it down again. There's no details in it. There's no, again, the step in front of you, like we just talked about. People write out the whole year or the whole month, and they think about that instead of Monday.
I think it's so powerful the reframing that mindset. You know, if you don't have an accountability partner, all the better in my opinion. It's like if you can commit to the work and let's say run 10 miles without telling anybody, and you know if you cheated yourself and you didn't. If you said you're going to do it and you don't, it's going to live with you for the rest of the day. But if you do it and you don't even tell anybody, you have that inner satisfaction that I held the promises I kept to myself. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest ways to be successful. Hold the promises, not just that you say to other people, but the ones you say to yourself. So few people do it.
Well, that's why, you know, someone like you can start a podcast and be successful. That's why you can run and hold yourself accountable and be mad at yourself when you don't. But no, nobody, barely anyone's like that. Like, we follow the people that do it, but there's not a lot of people that care. There's not a lot of people that can hold themselves to that. So it's like everyone wonders why, but they have no self drive. Everyone wonders why, but they don't have anything stopping them from stopping. Like, it's just they give up, and it's no whatever. It's all good. So you and me would, you know, feel like the worst people on the planet if we didn't hold our own end up to ourselves. I can't go 2 days without working out without feeling like garbage. So
I feel you. I feel you. One final serious question for you, Coach Lew. What would be the final takeaway message you want to leave with our audience today? Can be anything.
um, I just one of my favorite quotes is you wouldn't have been born if you weren't ready. And you're going to have a lot of doubt when you try to set out for a dream. You're going to have a lot of doubt when you set out for a big goal that you have. But I promise you, like, if you have it in your gut that like this is seriously what you want to do, it doesn't matter like how high the top of the mountain looks. It doesn't matter who's at the top of the mountain right now and how you compare to them. It matters if like it's honestly what you want to do. And if it is, I don't think you would have been born if you weren't ready. Because I truly believe you are. And I want to be a head strength coach in Division I football. I've now done that 5 times at different schools. You know, I, I just believe you can get what you want if you really want it. You're going to wake up with the same purpose. You're going to wake up with the same drive. You're going to get sidetracked, but you're going to stay on track at some point because that's what you want to do. So just keep believing in yourself no matter who stops believing in you.
And watch out for scorpions and killer bees on your way up the mountain. Coach Lew, where can people find you? Where would you recommend people find you? Maybe your book, your Instagram. Where do you want people to go from today's conversation?
At Lew Caralla on Instagram, at Lewis Caralla on Twitter, and then Firelighters365 on Amazon.com.
Coach Lew, final question I ask every single guest on every single podcast, way different from what we've been talking today, and excited to ask you, a serious guy who would probably crush this guy with his pinky. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you personally choose to make for him?
Probably just DiGiorno pizza and some, some oatmeal.
There you go. Carbs. Carbs.
Yeah.
I love it. Coach Lew, really appreciate you chopping it up with me over the past 50 minutes. I've getting a lot from it. And more importantly, outside this podcast, the work you do is absolutely fantastic. Appreciate all you're doing to make society a better place. I truly mean it. Keep crushing it. I'm excited to see all the incredible things you'll accomplish in the years to come. So thank you for our conversation today.
Yeah. Thank you, man. You're doing a great job. Really appreciate all the questions.